Call this meeting to order. At this time, I would ask that our superintendent lead us in our invocation and pledge.
If you'll stand with me and bow, please. Heavenly Father, as we come to you today, we come to you thankful for being here in Levy County. We thank you for the blessings that you bestow upon each and every one of us. We thank you for our students and our staff. Lord, we just lift all of them up as we know that summer is coming, winding down, as trainings are going on, and as we get ready to and we continue to prepare for the new school year. So we just appreciate your blessings on our students and our staff. We ask that you give us guidance and wisdom in all these things we ask. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. If you'll address the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda?
We pulled F4 on the agenda.
Okay.
And on the code of conduct edits, the school addresses and principals and assistant principals, we did update.
Okay.
And those are both in your packets.
All right. So at this time, I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented with corrections.
I move to adopt the agenda with corrections.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We now like to welcome any visitors that have any non-agenda items to bring before us tonight. Any public comment at this time? Looks like everybody that's here is part of us. Did we have any emails or anything? So we'll move right on. Mr. Superintendent, it would appear that you have something to do.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We like to recognize, we've had a lot of good staff members that have come and worked at our district. So I'd like to share this with you. It says, good morning. I'd like to nominate someone for an impact award. It's Miss Laura Clock. In 11 years that Laura has been working in Levy County, she's impacted the lives of students, families, and staff in countless ways. Laura's work with students has ranged from the gamut and has consistently been in support of those who needed it most. On the same day, she may be changing a diaper and helping a student determine where they may be sleeping that night. She has ensured that our youngest, most fragile students have gotten a good start of their education. Not only is Laura passionate about children being educated in the least restrictive environment, she has diligently put in the work to make that happen for our students. Our pre-K program is in the top tier of the state, thanks to her efforts. Over and over, I have witnessed her working to make sure kids have a place to sleep, food, clothes. Laura will call DCF or partnership one more time every time to get information or to help make sure a student is safe. She does it with a smile and grace over and over again. Laura has extended the same patience to the families in Levy County. She is always available to listen and help them advocate for their child's needs. I've watched her teach new moms how to navigate the confusing world of pre-K, ESE, daycare, or anything else they need help with. Laura has so kindly and gently supported parents as they are learning to manage their children's disability for the first time. She explains the same things over and over like it's the first time, every time. Another passion of Laura's is to ensure that every parent gets their fair time and their needs met in IEP meetings. She advocates for them while being right there with them. Laura does the work and is not one to ask something that she is unwilling to do herself. The staff of Levy County have called on Laura to help in crisis or problem solve day after day in situations. You can't take a ride with Laura without her calling or texting to help someone figure out some issue. No matter how many times she has said the same thing or how many suggestions she has already given, she keeps a positive attitude and the impression that she never gets frustrated. She problem solves with paras, teachers, principals, transportation, social workers, and other school districts. The list goes on and on. Laura is always willing to lend a helping hand to anyone in need, and she comes with a smile and eagerness every time for everyone. Her impact will be missed by many. That was from Miss Marcy Young. So I just wanted to recognize Laura for her efforts. So being an impact. And she got away from the district. Her last day was the 29th, but she's made an impact in Levy County. and we appreciate her so. And so I twisted her arm and asking her to come back. I asked her to ask her new boss to come get off work early so she could come get this award. So will you come up and receive this award? You want to say anything to the board?
Thank you guys for being patient with me as we learned and did more with our pre-K, and I think it's a great contribution to you guys too for going the full day pre-K for all of our children and picking up the cost of that. I think we're going to see great dividends from that. And just thank you for everything. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We wish you the very best.
Thank you.
All righty, we will now, we have a visitor from Alachua County here with us tonight. Future leader of Springs County, Miss Tina Pinkerson.
You know, that's a hard act to follow. So congratulations to you. My name is Tina Pinkerson. You've seen me before. I'm the Director of Leadership Services for the Florida School Boards Association. And it is my privilege to not only be here to present the award, but for having done the training with this group. Are you okay?
I
You
got
need
a
a
bad
Band-Aid?
spot on my arm. Yeah, I'm gonna get a Band-Aid here in a minute,
Okay.
but I want to listen to you. 'Cause
Okay, all right.
You
But
bring all
anyway, I so enjoy this board and the dynamics on this board. It is what my job is all about. It is to help boards learn how to navigate through the problems that they come across, how to have them work together. And this board personifies that. And so it's always, I assign who gets to go do what. And I always assign myself to come here and work with this board because I really do think that you are blessed with the personalities that you have, with the passion that you have, with the different strengths that each person brings to the board. I'm trying to think of Cameron's as I speak, but it's coming to me. But anyway, and that's the part that I love is just the fact that we can laugh together and pick on each other. My father always said, if I brought someone home,
You've used all your time.
stop it. If I brought someone home and he didn't pick on him, it meant that he didn't like him. So, you just know that you're loved. But it's a testament to this board. They take the time for professional development, just like we ask our teachers to. They already function at a high level, but they continue to go through this professional development because they care about the staff and the students in this district. So it is my pleasure to once again present you with your master board plaque to join all the other ones. And do you want a photo op or
Of course.
are you going
I may bleed to death. But hey.
to come get a photo op?
I learned, thank you. See, this is a wonderful school board Levy County employee looking out for me. And a dear friend. You just laugh at my ailments and my injuries.
I'll give you my phone. Will you take a picture for me too?
You,
I'm supposed to do the tweet.
If I'd known you were coming, I'd have worn a tie and gotten dressed up. Thank you, Mr. Cal. Thank you, Miss.
We'll do it
Seems like
sideways.
things
My
like
girl.
Come on.
Come on, all of us.
Yes.
All of it.
Absolutely.
We're gonna miss Brad.
We're gonna miss Brad, but we'll.
Hey, let's put Breezy in there and we'll say that's Brad.
Mr. Chairman.
I have no blood upon me. And if I did, it just makes it better because it's tiger blood. Eagle blood. Eagle blood.
All right, let's hold this and let's smile. Try to look professional.
Because of her, I found out I have two personalities.
You
What am I, green and a yellow, green and a blue?
do. We had to come up with new colors for Cameron. You know what you get when you mix green and yellow, you get blood.
I'll take that.
I resemble that remark.
This picture. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I always learn a lot in your classes. None of it actually useful.
Stop it. Don't ruin a beautiful.
I think you are the very best.
You are
presenter, and
fantastic.
We are glad. Please continue to come over and train our board.
Yes, if you give it up, I'm out.
That's right.
Gotta make some of these board members across the state start to behave themselves.
Hey, we've already had that discussion. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Florida School Board Association. It's a good class. Everybody should take it. Everybody should take it.
It's a pleasure.
I don't know about anybody else, but I joke about it, but I always learn a lot about me and I learn a lot about others. And it's a great opportunity.
It is.
It's good. And you do a great job.
I'm gonna stay.
Okay. At this time, we'll call on Mr. Lott. Come forward. He's going to request approval to adopt and amend some school board policies.
Good evening. So the first thing that we need to look at are the request and approval of the school board policies that we brought to you previously. We have advertised those policies for the required length of time. And we can go through every one of them again, but we've already done that once. So are there any questions or any concerns with any of the policies as presented?
Have you had any feedback or anything on this?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and I'm asking about the personnel, the use of the media, and then the cell phone devices.
No,
So
ma'am.
nothing.
No, ma'am.
And Mr. Cowart was very nice and sent out, information and asked. And my concern was that, we make a policy that, and I think it's a very good policy. I agree with it 100%. That we do when we make it, that we enforce it, and we certainly send out our book and our code of conduct, but that we make sure that we are enforcing these policies, and that our principals know to let our teachers know that. I mean, this is going to be a hard one. It's going to be a tough one. I agree with it. We do need to do it. It needs to be done, but I just know that it's going to be a challenge in the classroom. So have we thought about the steps for enforcing that?
At the moment, we're just doing the policies, and then the
Right.
next.
Code of
we'll
Code of
go
conduct.
Code
Yeah.
of conduct, which I think is what you're referring to in regard to a cell phone policy, and that is part of the student code of conduct.
Right.
So right now, we're just doing 3.06 through 11.03. Those board policies that we have brought to you previously.
Yes. And I do have them separated here. Yes, thank you.
The only new one on that is the social media.
Right.
And that policy has been through David. So when we've mirrored some other districts, and that just kind of gives us some backing, basically to make sure that everybody's using their social media for good. So, and I'll use it that way.
So are there any questions, concerns with the school board policies? Anything on that? And on this, we can do a motion to do all of them at one time, if that is okay. I will entertain a motion
So moved.
to approve. We have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion, questions? These have all been talked about pretty good. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Lott.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the student code of conduct. And I know we had some discussion last time. And be glad to hear any other conversation, concerns, perhaps suggestions that you may have.
Have we had any questions on that code of conduct?
Just only comments that were made was by just some board member comments. So, and I'm sure they'll be shared at some point in time. So, but I've reached out to all of the administrators today. So all of the feedback from administrators was they understand that the cell phone policy, that it is a change, and that there will be a process of where we're going to have to weather a storm. We know that we weathered a storm for the better part of 6 weeks with a viral social media. And I can assure you that a couple of our administrators that either were on a part of the video or were called out and wrongly accused as being on the video are most assuredly in favor of this policy. I've also reached out to one of our new staff members, so Christy McElroy. She put this in place at Ruth Raines. They had numerous fights. They had about 40 fights the year before, and it had reduced the number of fights to 9 in the year after. So if our focus is on student achievement and student engagement, this gives us the ability to make sure that we keep that focus, and it also makes sure that we keep our students safe and secure, which is our first thing in our mission statement. I know that this was the best solution that we could come up with, and our administrators, once again, I've reached out to them. This process has gone over a couple months' time with it being sent out, drafts coming back with administrators. They've had multiple opportunities to have feedback, and the feedback has been positive, and that they know that it's going to be difficult. And if it's passed tonight, the first thing that will happen is that we will put this out on our Facebook and our school sites so parents can know what's going on with this. But I think there's some common sense in this, that it gives us the ability to get a handle on some of the issues that we've been facing.
I agree completely. Absolutely with all of that.
And I think obviously communication, and the more that we can communicate, so it will also go out to all staff to understand that this is the expectation and that we want a unified across the district. So I know in years past, things may have tried. All I can say is that it's a new school year. We rolled over July 1. This is the solution that I have to meet that problem. So, and since we're discussing this, I know it got a little heated the other night, so I will take this time to publicly apologize to Ms. Boyle. So one of my comments was a little pointed and directed, and so I by no means do I mean, because I want us to have a great working relationship. So it doesn't matter whether we're on different sides of things of the issue. By all means, I know we're all trying to come together for the best of our students, and so I apologize. So and we'll make, I don't mean it as an excuse or anything like that. I just want to know that I didn't mean anything out of it. So I apologize.
Thank you, Mr. Fine.
Does anyone else have any comments, questions? Yes, ma'am.
I do. I will share some of my thoughts. And Mr. Coward and I have talked a lot about it, and I appreciate his openness and listening to me and moving forward. I'm not downgrading anything that the administrators and district have done to put this together. I've taken some other steps to do a little bit more research in other counties as well, and I know this has been done too among administrators and districts. My thought process here is I am good, and I don't know how legally we would go about this. I am good with the student code of conduct. I don't know if not being good with this cell phone inside there nullifies the whole student code of conduct book, so that doesn't move forward. But personally, I feel that the administrators may have a hold on this. My thought is the trenches, and my thought is the students, the parents, and the teachers. And oddly enough, I just ran it by my son, who, 2020 graduate, came all through Chiefland, and had him read this whole thing. I said, give me your thoughts, because that, some of those thoughts I think we need to hear too, from the students, from the teachers. And he said, Mom, I think it's going to be a nightmare. And I think that the kids that are going to break the rules are the same kids that are going to break the rules, regardless that this is here. And in my opinion, I think that this is putting added pressure on the teachers, to the point of the first day of school. Even my son's comment was, so they're going to take everybody's phone? And it's a good point. It's a valid point. I'm not saying that our teachers can't control our children, but the way cell phones are being used now, I think there's other methods by giving them discipline if they get caught using it wrongly. But I don't think we can go to such an extreme measure at this point from saying, first day of school, you have that out, it's confiscated, parent has to, for return, I get the consequences. And the Student Code of Conduct book that we have now, and unfortunately, as Mr. Powers said, the cell phone, doing videos, doing social media, posting things there, it was in there and it just wasn't enforced. And that's, we have to look past that now, I agree, and we need tougher restrictions. I just don't feel this is the way. So moving forward, as I said, that's how I feel, and I just wanted everyone to know, and I have to go with laying my head on that pillow and thinking about the teachers too, and thinking about the parents and the kids.
In reaching out, I know we've got some recent elementary school principals, so this is not really an elementary issue. So it's a secondary, and reaching out with Chiefland. So Mr. McClellan said cell phones are not allowed in the middle school. So we're talking about the 9th through 12th is where it is there. Cedar Key, they don't allow cell phones. So Miss Kathy said that's been her policy. So as long as she's been the principal there, Ms. Boyle, all I can say, whenever you're dealing with that, you have parent phone calls where we have Instagram sites and things that are displaying our students being in fights, that this is the steps that we've collectively, through everybody and talking with our administration, our district office, and mirroring the policy. A lot of the verbiage that you gave is from that PASCO policy that you sent me.
Yes, sir.
So so.
Do you have anything, Ms. Clancy?
They're not allowed at Williston either. I spoke with my children about this issue also, and they said, well, Mama, that's nothing different than what one did get, and I think they're allowed to have it during lunch. I'm not a fan of cell phones on campus. For all of the big issues that you've said, safety, liability, take all of it, just the distraction of it. So I feel like, in agreement with Ms. Brookins, we definitely do need to share it on Facebook, put it out there that this is our rule. There is a grace of a first offense, the device being confiscated, but I don't like gray. I like the black or white on this of no cell phone, just so there isn't a gray area. That's why I brought that up about, teachers using cell phones to upload PDFs. They need to use the school devices and use Canvas. I just think there needs to be a very clear direction with this.
And in this, if they need to use it for a calculator, or they have the ability, the common sense. So this will be discussed. If this is passed on the 26th, we have a district administrators with principals and APs, and also we'll bring in deans if we need to, but they've already been game planning on ways to implement this, and everybody understanding that we know that any time change is difficult. But if we want to move forward and we want it to be about student engagement and student achievement, this is a way to help with that.
Can I point something out? The offenses, first, second, third offense and all that came directly from the schools. That was their suggestion.
Okay. Well, these are my concerns, and I've already talked with Mr. Cowart about these, but my concerns are, well, first of all, let's start with my first concern with cell phone, the thing. This is about an impossibility to do this. This is one notch away from an impossible thing. And I honestly don't believe this can be a black and white thing. I think this has to be a gray area where common sense has to come into play, because inevitably there's going to be a child in our schools wherever school, that has an IEP or a 504, that someone's not aware of that IEP or that 504, that child is seen with the cell phone out, and that child is chastised, brought in, and it has to be addressed. I think there's also my concerns. These are my concerns. There are events that take place in the course of a day with an average child that they might need to access that cell phone. We have young ladies going through things in our schools. We have young men going through things in our school that may cause an embarrassment to have to walk from the back of the school up front to get to say, hey, can I use the phone? And it's all well and good to say, well, go to the nurse, go to this. Yeah, perfect world, that would work out great. It's not always a perfect world. That they may need to use the phone to call home. And I don't want a child in trouble. There will be things that they don't want to talk about that all of a sudden, hey, I need to go to the bathroom. We have a lot of bathrooms we have to go. Other things that concern me are the ability to enforce this. I think it's inevitably that you will have some people that will be very strict in enforcing it and others that won't be. I think that's just inevitable. So these are concerns. Another concern of mine is, and my concern for this is because it has happened in the past, when the device is confiscated and that device is lost, who's responsible for the replacement of that device? Is it the teacher that took the device? Is it the parent that let the child bring it to school? Is it the school system's use of it?
That's why it says on there, the school will not be held responsible.
But if we take it, say, for example, Mr. Lott takes it, puts it in his desk, pick it up at the end of school, comes back and it's not there.
Why did I take it?
Who buys it? Well, I'm just throwing what's going to come out. I'm going to tell you, you take my kid's cell phone and Mr. Lott has it, somebody's going to pay me for that cell phone. I get that he wasn't supposed to have it there.
But it's the same if you go to a car wash, Cameron. If you go to the car wash and they damage your antenna, you went to the car wash, you're liable because the sign up there says.
You know what that sign says? Sue me. I'm insurance man. There's a many a day a car wash has to pay for an antenna. That's just what that means. So these are genuine concerns. And that's why I go back to, this is one notch away from an impossibility because they're just a part of life. And for every kid that misuses it, you got a couple kids that don't do anything wrong with it. What about that poor little kid who doesn't really have a lot of friends, but at lunch sits there and listens to music on his earbuds just because he doesn't want to start a problem. He wants to kind of be left alone. He doesn't want anything. Or you got people that read on their iPhone at lunch. What's wrong with that? That's education. That's part of it. So, but at the same time, I know there's hard work that goes in, and I know we need an answer. And so it's something that I have to straddle on that part. That's just the cell phone thing. The other thing, and I said it at the last meeting, it still concerns me, is on the person that gets extracurricular thing. I still think that needs to be activities instead of the word competition. To me, if you screw up that day at school, you don't get to go do the fun stuff after school. You be it a practice, be it a competition, be it a meeting, you shouldn't be there. That's kind of like saying, well, we let you sit out of class, but you still get to go do the fun stuff. And it was said, well, those coaches will punish those kids at the thing. Well, I look at it this way. Say you're the star quarterback for the football team, and you do something to get ISS that day, whatever that is. And that was Thursday when we're supposed to go over the plans for the football game. Well, now you've let your whole team down because you can't behave. I think that's more important than the competition thing. The other thing is, not everything that has an extracurricular activity on the day has a competition. We have cheerleaders. Not all cheerleading is competitive. But if they mess up during school, they still get to do everything. You have band members that still get to do all the fun stuff. So I don't like the word activities. I mean, I like the word activities. I don't like the word competition. That's just Cameron Aspin's opinion on that. I kind of agree with Ms. Boyle. It's difficult the code of conduct is great, but you got these little segments that make it hard for me to vote to pass it. And I honestly don't know what to do. And I'll be honest, further honest, when it comes to the cell phone thing sitting here right now, I don't know where I stand on it because I see the importance of it. But at the same time, I see the problems with it and I don't know where the solution rests. And I'm not that smart. That's me.
What I see is that we do have to vote on this and we have to move forward. And that if we vote on this and we're going to go forward with this code of conduct, that we have to stand behind it and we have to enforce it. And when parents and community calls us, and my friends that have kids in school and they call, and then we have to be just as strong as those principals and those teachers and stand up to it too. So I feel that we need to all be in agreement. I respect everybody's opinion and, you know, and how you think. And it's not that I don't disagree. I kind of agree. I agree with Kim on all the extracurricular things, not exactly on the sale, but we can all, you know, agree to disagree. But I just know that this is going to be a tough one, and it's going to be a tough one for the people that are enforcing it. But we have to be one of those people too if we pass this. And I feel that we have to be strong about it.
So to speak as a parent.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I have a 13-year-old who has a cell phone with probably the most restrictions that a kid can have on one. She doesn't have any access, or all of her friends do. And the amount of disruption that happens for her, at least, and she doesn't even have access to the things that is causing this disruption for her friends. So I just, as a parent, I feel like if we put out boundaries for kids, then they grow from those boundaries. And I think it will be a learning curve for parents to get back in the mode of, oh, I can talk to my kid until 8:30, and then my kid's going to get my message at 3:30, if that's, you know, what the expectations are. But I mean, I know I'm guilty of texting her in the middle of the day and saying such and such is going to pick you up from school today. Well, there's nothing wrong with her finding out that message at 3:30, because when she walks out the door, she can turn her phone on and know who's getting her. So that's just my personal, as a mom, like I'm comfortable with following a rule that says I can't contact my kid during the school day. She's there to learn. She's there to pay attention in class. She's there to not text friends and be on social media and video something and share that. So I just, as a mom, I'm okay with a gap of time, her not having phone access, because I think our kids are on it 24/7. And it's almost a gift to them to take it away from them.
I agree. I think it's really too. I agree. I think 7 hours, I do worry about enforcing it. I've seen firsthand what administrations had to deal with all of the distraction and the drama and the discipline. My boys, I mean, one got in trouble for having a cell phone and got lunch attention, and then had a cell phone and lunch attention for having a cell phone. It's an addiction with our kids, and there's that. And then I've preached to my kids as far as the safety issue, because I think some of the pushback we're going to get is, what if something happens at school? We want to reach our kids. Mm-hmm. I have told my children, if something happens at school, don't touch your cell phone and use your instincts. That's going to hinder, not help, in my opinion. So
I think safety and security, that's one of the things. If there ever was an incident and having a flood of information, we want to have we want one message going out, and the mass of misinformation that goes out in issues like that. I get that there's a lot of heartache with this. Let me take that back. I know firsthand, going and answering phone calls at Chiefland Middle High School, the nastiness, and watching that video. And I know that each of you got those emails.
Awful emails.
This part, I know there's a lot of work that's gone into it. I wish I had a better solution for you, but this is the best solution that I can come up with right now. And I know that it will be difficult. All I can say is, for lack of a better word, there's a new leader of this district, there's new expectations, and that's where we're going forward, okay? And it's going to be communicated to our staffs. I will go out there with our principals and ensure with them and communicate with them. I've sat here beside you all. I've gone into the schools. This will be positive for us. I know it will be difficult at first, but any change that happens is difficult. And that's where we're going to see growth. So that's all I can offer to you as the superintendent and as people that have sat in your seats. I've reached out to our principals. I've reached out to our APs. You all saw the email. I mean, I went to Bronson Middle High School, Mr. Gauss and Miss Bray were both going to email. I told them they didn't need to send an email, so I talked to Mr. Slimp. So I urge you to pass this, and if not, then, you know.
Is there any legality behind taking a student's cell phone? Something is written in there about it's a personal property. Is that,
Well, I mean,
does that hinder anything?
but Miss Boyd, you sent me Pasco, and they take away people's rights to bring it on campus. So what's the difference between taking it, if somebody has it out and is using it inappropriately
Inappropriately.
versus, you know,
But if they're not using it inappropriately, can we confiscate it?
do we want the student engaged? Do you want the student working on Algebra 1?
Absolutely, I do want the student engaged, of course, that's why I'm here. But every day, it's this right now, starting out like this, every day for those teachers to keep their focus on cell phones and confiscating cell phones and bringing it to the front and phoning the parent. And I know you've talked to the deans but sometimes they're not going to voice their true opinion. Sometimes, you know, they don't want to cause waves. You know, that could be a reason. They just don't want to cause waves. It's just my opinion that the teachers are going to be hammered by the verbiage right here of what we have to do, what they have to do. I mean, we can sit here and it all looks great from up here, but when you're in that classroom, when you're there with so many students all the time, I think it's going to be overwhelming. And they've been through a lot this past year. And that's, I won't interrupt Mr. Delaney.
Mr. Delaney.
No, I'm just here to clarify, and I think everybody on the dais understands this. But if any members of the public are watching, there's a state statute that says students are allowed to possess a wireless communication device while on campus. But it also empowers the districts to administer or control how those devices are used. So this is not a new rule saying that students are going to have, as soon as they step off the bus, cell phones are going to be taken up or confiscated.
No.
If it's in the backpack, out of sight,
Right.
and not causing a disturbance, the ringer's not going off, then it's not going to be taken from any students. They're going to continue to be allowed to have that. What I have seen, and I'm certainly not advocating for one side or the other, what I have generally seen is sort of a bell-to-bell rule that in between classes, you know, when you get off the bus, it needs to be out of sight. You can't hear it. And then when whether you're at lunch or whether you're transitioning between classes, it needs to be out of sight, not visible, not heard. During class time, generally what I have seen other districts do is it's up to the discretion of the teacher if a device is going to be used as a calculator or if that's going to be perhaps an assistive device to a special education student or whatever the case may be. And
that's allowable. That's written into this policy or
Right.
this.
Okay. Like I said, this is tough. This is a hard one. Is it feasible? And I'm just asking this, to pull this from the code of conduct to maybe be, because the way it's sitting right now, I'm not sure, and I'm asking you this, Mr. Attorney, we have not done this. Sitting here right now, I don't know if this is going to pass, fail. I do not know if this is going to be a tie. And we only have 4 votes. If it winds up a tie, what do we do?
means that motion fails. I knew that one, but I'll take the assist.
I knew you did.
But I don't want to underestimate our children either. I feel like if you have expectations and a hard rule, and it is clear, like we said, enforcing it, I don't want to underestimate our children that they can't follow a rule. I mean, I remember sitting here talking about masks, and my daughter goes to a Marion County school, oh gosh, no elementary school kids will ever be able to hear. You know, we laughed about it. They're going to switch masks. They're not going to follow the rules. It did not happen. They kept their masks on. They followed the rules. I just don't want us to underestimate if a strong, solid rule is in place. I think our children will follow it if they know the consequences that cell phone's going to be taken.
I agree. I believe our children can meet our expectations. Here's where my concern is, and you brought it up just a minute ago. Your child was sent to lunch detention for having his cell phone and allowed his. We need that common sense. My concern is common sense. My concern is the person having the common sense to go, okay, this is a situation where it's perfectly fine. I am concerned that Mrs. Smith lets me use my cell phone in this class, but this one doesn't. I'm concerned that we are so busy watching this cell phone that we miss out on this fiasco that's going over here. I don't want a videotape of a fight. I don't want that stuff. But guess what? The videotape that we're talking about didn't happen here. Somewhere else. So somewhere else can still do that to us. We're not stopping that. So, and I'm just being a jerk bringing these things up. I got off my subject a minute ago when I asked if it lines up with this. Is it possible to legally, can things be pulled from this for later discussion and added back in later if we need to do that? Because there are parts of this that some of us seem to really like, and there's other parts that some of us seem to not like. Can that be done?
Sure, this is the board's policies, the board's code of student conduct, and I mean, it can be an evolving document. I think the discussion at the last meeting pertaining to that was printing timetables.
Printing time, right. So if we were to pull something, it would be printed without it and then have to be added at a later date.
That's my understanding of it.
Today actually was the deadline for us to have it submitted in order to get it back, but possibly we feel like if we get it in tomorrow, we'll have it in time for the first day of school. But
Done tomorrow? Okay, so, because we do have someone absent and we would not, and if we had a tie and the motion failed, then we do have a board meeting next week and it's not 2 weeks later. Is it possible time-wise that we could, table this so that we could wouldn't be a possible tie and not motion fail? Is that a possibility before a motion fails?
I don't think if we don't vote on it, whatever we vote on tonight needs to go to the printer tomorrow in order to have it in the hands of a student first day of school. So next week would be too late.
I say this, Mr. Chair, if you decide to pull it, I feel like it would be more difficult a month into school, 9 weeks into school, to add a policy like this. So I think that would be even more difficult than starting a new year fresh.
Yeah, I think it has to go in fresh and start, and I think we have to be firm behind it. Now, I would like to ask this also too. Can we vote on these two items since we're kind of different, the activities rather than competition?
And speaking to that, that has evolved. That came to us from the principals. And so it's kind of been tweaked with that. You know, you heard Mr. Gore speak about coaches having influence on kids and sports being a reason. I shared with you, we had an incident where a student was disciplined and then a parent pulled them and was gone for a length of time. So as a former coach, I understand that you may think that the practice, but practice, having that contact, I think is important and will help with our coaches. And I think that playing in games, that is the fun, that's the reward there. That's, and like I said, that came from our principals and our ADs and deans.
And I think this is more than just sports.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt.
I think those activities include FFA kids.
Sure. Sure.
Going to meetings. I think those include band kids. I think it's all those things. And so that don't necessarily have a competition. Like say, for example, a basketball player. Basketball plays 2 or 3 times a week. Not being out the competition. It's going be much worse on that basketball player
There's a
than
chance
it
that they
is
would miss
on
the game.
the band member. So that's why I think it should be activities. But, you know, I understand the work and I get what you're saying. So,
I feel like we have school business to do and businesses that we have to be on timely fashion and get it to printer. So I'm making the motion that we pass the code of student conduct as presented.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Are there any, anybody want to present any changes to any amendments or anything like that? Seeing none. All those in favor of the code of conduct as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no.
No.
I will also vote no. So, I will gladly, as chairman, I will gladly be receptive to a reconsideration on this towards the end of the meeting. If there are other things, because I understand the time frame, but
How do we have a reconsideration at the end of the meeting? I don't understand that. So,
because
how do we
it
do that?
failed.
Okay,
someone
so,
on the
but we
failing-
have to have a student and we have to adopt a code of conduct. So how are we
We
gonna?
do.
And we
do.
have to get it to a printer to do our, to school. So
We do.
how do you propose that?
Here's why I would say reconsideration. There were two people here that voted no. Either of those two could bring it back for reconsideration. Were they able to come forward and go, hey, if this has changed, it will change my vote and we can reconsider at that time. I don't know where Ms. Boyle stands on where she stands on an issue. I know where I stand on an issue. Maybe at the end of the meeting, one of us may say, hey, I want to reconsider that because I was on the prevailing side. And we can do that because we do know the importance of needs to come come to the printer. But that's where we are. And if we can't do that, then it's a failed motion. And
I think if we're tough enough to even consider putting something like this forth and having everybody's back, that we're tough enough to, if we want to just remove this and work on that a little bit more to get a consensus, then I think we're tough enough to implement it mid-year or second semester.
all right, that's something to take into consideration. We'll move forward. And before the end of the meeting, if somebody wants to present a reconsideration, we will bring it back for us so that we can get it to the printers.
I want to say on the record, I appreciate the administration and the work that's gone into this because there is a lot of work that had to come forward to get this going so that we can go into to start our school year. And I would just politely disagree with starting in the middle of the year. I mean, we can do changes, everybody can learn. I don't doubt that we can't learn and go forward, but it just starts better. The way you start something is the way you're going to continue. And we can always improve on that, but it's just starting out fresh, new school year is just
Mr.
so
Lott,
much easier.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Mr. Lott, have we ever added anything into the student code of conduct? So.
Not
in the 30
after the year has begun.
Okay, so.
And it's going to be expensive. You print it again. That's a
So-
big expense.
We will,
Can I ask a question?
we can potentially
Yes,
revisit
ma'am.
this.
I think that we're okay with the policy is what I'm hearing. We're just having a problem with what we do for the offense. So we're really just looking at first offense, second offense, third offense. So if we have principals that are willing to take that lead, could we not put language in here that say progressive discipline as determined by the school?
The principals were the ones that came up with the progressive discipline. So,
But I think that would,
the discipline that's listed in there, that was brought to by the principals. They were the one that brought the punishments.
so the principals are in charge of that. I'm just saying, if this is the wording that's giving us such a hard time, and it's concrete, and I get it, we all are at different places. So if we just change that wording to where it's the principal sets that for each school. So you may have Chief Middle High that goes, okay, I'm not really quite there, or Cedar Keys says, okay, I'm really not quite there yet. Which you're telling me that they all said, but this would get us past that point, and it would get us to the point where we can get this printed and out the first day of school. Because as a teacher,
I don't want to go back 6 weeks later, 9 weeks later, and go, just kidding, kids, we decided to change our minds. So we need to get to that point where we can print this and have it ready for the first day of school. As a teacher, not as my other hats that I wear, but as a teacher, I want to have that first day of school, what that's going to be.
Yes, ma'am.
And then if it's back on the principals, then the school would give that out with their student handbook.
Ms. Carson, I appreciate your comments. Our goal is to have a Levy way of work, not a Chiefland way of work, a Williston, a Bronson, a Cedar Key. So that's, so I understand and I appreciate, I'm not sure that that's what would do it. So, but I can't speak to that. So, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry.
All right, what we'll do is if it is, let's take a 5-minute recess. Chair, Ms. Clemency at this point, because I need to address the board. As I was on the prevailing side previously, I would like to move that we reconsider the code of conduct. I move that. We need a second. It is not either debatable nor amendable, so we would move straight to voting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
No discussion is allowed.
And this is just about whether we're going to.
We're going to talk about it some more. That's all this is.
Understand.
We got to vote.
Oh.
Call for the vote.
I call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?
The reason I asked to reconsider this is, I think I made it abundantly clear earlier. I'm very adamant about that word change, that activities. So at this time, I move to accept the proposed code of conduct with the change being from competition to activities.
I second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
We need a
We need a
discussion.
Any discussion?
What about the other part of the code of conduct book on the cell phone?
The only part I am asking to change is that one word.
Okay.
I
May I
am
suggest
adamant
a
about that.
change in the verbiage of the cell phone while we are still on this discussion?
Sure.
Yeah, you can offer an amendment for.
Okay, I would like to offer an amendment. Looking at the Pasco County verbiage, they do have discipline in place when the cell phones are misused, but the following use of a cell phone is approved, of course, during instructional periods, approval by the classroom. They are also approved before and after school, during lunch periods, in between classes, during the after-school extracurricular, at school-related functions, and while on the school bus, provided such use does not create a distraction, disruption, or otherwise interfere with the educational environment. I would like to make some type of amendment to where the approval for cell phones is during some of this time frame.
Okay. So let's try to refine that down to some language that everybody knows what they're voting on.
You want the language from Pasco verbatim?
Not verbatim, I want to see a portion of the school day where the students will be allowed to use their cell phones, that it's not just
For
So-
educational purposes
for
or?
educational purposes.
We have that.
During lunch periods, yes, I'd like to make an amendment that before and after school, during the lunch periods, and in between classes if they are in the hallway.
Can I ask the question? And so I want to ask this as principals, or all my principals out here, past principals, that as a principal and we are enforcing a code of conduct that it's going to be different and difficult, and then we're going to peel parts of it out, and you're going to say, we're not going to have cell phones, but then we're going to allow this. How enforceable is that, would that be? Just your opinion and your thoughts on that?
It could be
here, Dave. Your problem is it's not during the classroom time that most of your inappropriate use of the cell phone is being done. It's being done at lunchtime and during classes.
Our video happened at lunchtime. Our fights are usually at class change time, so.
Right, and that's what it is.
And I understand that, but I don't think this verbiage right here is ever going to stop a fight from being recorded or something from being recorded.
So do you just throw your hands up?
No,
I mean,
no,
I don't.
I'm not saying throw your
That's-
hands up.
This,
I'd like to get teacher input. I mean, I respect principals and APs, and I've spent many hours with them. And they know, when they know me, they know I respect them. They're not in every classroom. They are not putting this into place until it gets to their office or the dean gets called. The teachers are the ones putting this into place. They are in the trenches. They are interrupted during teaching time when they have to confiscate that phone.
Well, can I say, as a former secondary teacher for almost 20 years, I
Yes.
would welcome it. Because if there's some structure there, the kids know they're not supposed to have it out. I don't have to keep telling them 40 times, put your phone away and pay attention to me or what we're doing. Once you take that phone a few times and you've set a precedent and you've held the kids accountable, then you won't have to worry about that for the whole year. Yes, it's going to be a struggle at the beginning of the year, but once everyone understands this is the way we're going to do it, we're going to hold you accountable. Believe me, they'll put the phone away, and they'll still have opportunities to use it. They'll go to the bathroom and use it. That's the way they do it now. But at least there's some kind of control over, when they're out and when they're being used, and they are a distraction. I think Ms. Kleminski said they're addicted to it. They are. And guess what? They're addicted to it in the middle of class. And that's not what they're there for.
Well, that verbiage is what is currently in place. And there's still, they're currently have it before school, in between class periods, at lunch. That's been pretty much the rule. I know Williston, Chiefland, Cedar Key, and evidently it's still an issue because of that incident. On top of everything else, the principal is bigger than us. There's been work behind the scenes saying there needs to be a change, is how I view it. So,
And I would say that this thing went through it morphed into several versions. The original version did have, they were allowed at lunch and in between classes. And the principals at the school and the deans, they're the ones that said, look, we don't want them out at all. They're the ones who said that. Because it's too hard to say it's acceptable now and not here. It's just this time period that's not acceptable.
I think as a teacher, they're gonna say, like you said, put away your phone, but if the child is not doing what they're supposed to be doing with their phone, they're gonna immediately call the dean and the AP and the principal. So that it might just be them. It's not gonna put a lot of more work on a teacher. It's literally just saying, I'm calling the administration. That's what's gonna happen. And so it does technically fall on the leaders of the school that are gonna have to be doing the majority of the work. But if that's what they feel is the most important way to get a handle on this, then it might be. In the elementary setting, I've had, especially 3 to 5, we've had a lot of cases growing with cell phone, inappropriate cell phone use, and we've always taken them. I take them, they go in my drawer, parent calls. Sometimes parent comes and gets them, sometimes they don't. It's up to them, and we've never had a problem. So some of them will say, you can't take my kid's phone, you can't take my kid's phone, but when you have a conversation with them and what they're doing with them, they usually back you.
Okay, we have a motion before us. Oh,
I was just going to add to that during our substitute trainings, the number one problem is that the subs would bring up during our training is, what do we do about the cell phones? They said we spend the whole hour just trying to get kids to put their phones down so that we can follow through with what the teachers ask us to do in the lesson plans. So it's not just our classroom teacher or the admin, our subs that are trying to carry on and do what the teachers ask. They are really struggling with this same problem, this is what to do with funds.
Okay, we have a motion before us to amend the original motion to add in the verbiage from Pasco County. Do we have a second?
That's a good question for the chair at the time.
Do we have a second?
Oh, I forgot. Hey, do we have a second on that yet? I'm so sorry. I forgot I gave it up.
Do we have a second?
Okay, so not hearing one, I would say that the amendment fails.
Okay, not hearing one, the amendment failed.
And so now we're back to the amendment.
The original motion, which was, I move to approve, and it has been seconded, I move to approve the code of conduct with the change of the word from competition to activities.
Do I hear a second?
And/or competition.
So we've already had a second,
Okay.
right?
Sorry, got a second.
We've already had a
Yes,
second.
it does.
Right,
Okay,
yeah,
we have a second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
I think I've voiced my opinion enough on that. Talking that.
So to be clear, we're amending the motion and putting the word activity instead of
Competition.
competition.
And then everything else will remain the same.
Okay, all those in favor? Yay?
Okay.
Aye. All those opposed? You can sign that. Motion passes. 2 yeas, 3-1.
Right.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Ms. Clemency, and may I commend you on the job. Now, I'm sorry I jumped out of line there. What in the world? Okay, are there any changes to the amendment, to the minutes? Are we done with you, Mr. Lott?
No.
Oh, I thought we were done.
No. We have one more thing, Mr. Chair, approval of the comprehensive student progression plan.
Oh, I forgot
And
that.
you have,
I'm sorry.
obviously, this is a very large document. What you have are only the changes and the edits.
And this was all previously presented at the last meeting.
Yes, sir.
Were there any further questions on the student progression plan as presented? Any
No,
changes?
no, sir.
Any members have any questions?
I make the motion to approve.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, are there any changes to the minutes
No, sir.
of the June 22nd? Has everyone had a chance to read over those?
Yes, sir.
I will entertain a motion to approve those
Motion
minutes.
to approve.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll now move on to our consent agenda, and I'll start down here with Ms. Clemency. Ms. Clemency, do you have any questions, comments, concerns?
No questions, just a couple of comments. Ms. Wetzel has been with us a very long time. She was my middle school, I say our, I'm looking at Melissa, school secretary, and she's going to be sorely missed. She's been an asset to the Levy District for a long time. Also, Mr. Edison, as many of you probably know, resigned from a math teacher at Yankeetown and took another position. So he was certainly an asset at Yankeetown last year, and we will miss him and wish him the best of luck also. And that's it. That's all I have.
Mrs. Ricketts?
All my questions have been answered, and, I just want to follow up too. There's a lot of great teachers that are leaving and changes, and there's a lot of other teachers that are changing positions and young teachers coming in. So it happens every year, all the different changes, and, we'll all grow from it and wish the ones that are leaving the very best, because they've done an excellent job.
Thank you, Mrs. Brookins. Mrs. Boyle.
All my questions have been answered, and just echo the teachers. Some of the teachers, of course, that I've spent some time with at Chiefland, Kelly Beecham, Kelly Moore moving to Chiefland Mills, great, and Amy Watkins will be missed, and Mr. Hodges as well.
Thank you, ma'am. I would like to point out that Williston Middle High School is getting a fantastic math teacher, Justine Guptill. She was great at Bronson Middle High School. Don't know how to say this without offending, and I don't mean to offend. Not everybody is a teacher. She's definitely a teacher. She thinks outside the box. She helps the children. You will see a difference. And I think that is, I hate to lose her at Bronson, but that is a great asset for Williston. And I wish her all the best, but she's fantastic, and Williston should be proud to have her. All my questions and concerns were addressed. I will now entertain a motion to to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last week, we had AVID training, and I put something there, and it was really, really nice. Our school's foundation brought in breakfast and lunch. We're very thankful for, and decorated, so, and really just kind of, Miss Taylor did an excellent job with that presentation. It was 3 days, had a lot of, every one of our schools represented. What I thought was really, really unique was at lunchtime, they brought in students, Williston Middle High School students, and talked and shared how AVID affected them and the positive things. So with that, if you'll take one and pass it down. So Miss Taylor sent each one of you a chocolate bar.
Oh, sweet.
So you get
Nice
to see
lady.
that. We talk a lot of students and higher ed, and one of the things that we want to always keep forefront is making sure, even in AVID, that we're talking about our career and technical side. So trying to continue to keep that push there. You just approved the articulation agreement with Florida Gateway for the wastewater program that we had students go through. And had the first high school student in the state of Florida that participated and passed. So Mr. Asbell's young son, Hayden, so appreciate that. And then today and yesterday, we've had our K2 teachers and Miss Heather Rawlings, and Jamie have presented with our K2, our new ELA standards with our teachers. So you've got teachers, you've got principals, you had reading coaches there learning the new standards. We also were able to have Benchmark there today to kind of have breakout sessions. So they kind of split half and half, where half were in the cafeteria, half were delving into our new curriculums. So just a lot of work that's going on, and I appreciate all the effort here at the district. I appreciate everyone here that sits at the dais, how much effort that you put into being prepared and being ready, and the good questions that you bring. So, and know that it comes from a mind frame of wanting our students to achieve and do well. So I appreciate that very, very much. And I think that's all that I have right now. So
Thank you, sir. We'll start now. We'll go to board comments. Let's get down here, Mrs. Clemensky.
Yeah, I was just to kind of piggyback on what Mr. Cowart said. I know there are a lot of workshops and professional development, and the best standards are being learned. I love looking at the social media websites and seeing all of our teachers huddled together and learning and working as a team. I got to talk to Ms. Westfall for a long time today, and Yankeetown's just going to have a great year. I just feel it. There's such good things happening. It's the 85th year that Yankeetown's school's been in place, and they have actually found the original bell from the school that was in Texas. We don't know how it got to Texas, but we're going to have a big ceremony involving that. There's just a lot of school pride that's coming up ahead, and just feel really great about the year we're going to have.
Where was it in Texas?
I don't know. Good question.
Yeah, and how did it get there?
I don't know.
What about the
It was-
school buildings?
a great, I think maybe 3 greats nephew, his mother had it. And so the bell moved several times, and now she's just moved to Texas. And I think she had one more move that she didn't want to lug it again. She was about to be 90 years old. And so the nephew reached out to Miss Westfall and said, hey, I had this bell, and all of a sudden it showed up UPS. So, and
It's like one of those great big bells.
it's a huge, it was made, I think 1886 in Pennsylvania. It's kind of got a greenish color tint to it. Oh, but
Wow.
That is the
Wow.
coolest
so
thing.
it was a really unique thing. So
Yeah.
Please keep us up to date when they're going to do that. That's cool. I like stuff like that.
Yeah.
One more thing too, summer camp, I think there's 60 kids at Yankeetown that participated in my office.
no, you're right.
It's I think probably a record number for Yankeetown or close to it.
Most assuredly, we have 1,050 or 1,015 students. So 20% of our student population is on a campus doing some type of summer learning. And
And field trips.
our field trips, our coalition has been a wonderful partner. Our teachers have been rewarded with great salaries, and our staffs and the students have had a couple days of enrichment. And yes, they've gone to the zoo, they've gone to the aquarium. I think we've got a fishing trip planned, and I think then there may be something else in the works that's going on. So, but massive undertaking between the coalition, Miss Hanlon and Miss Lewis, so, and several other members of really pulling off that process and getting curriculum packaged up together and making it worthwhile. So along with the mandated third grade reading camp that we do, so we've had very good success that we've seen. So
A lot going on this summer.
it is.
Positive.
And that's what I've heard too, is about the summer program, the trips, and it's just, wow, great. And I'm just so proud those kids get that opportunity. And some of them would never, but they go on some great trips. So that's wonderful. And then I'm glad that everybody was safe in the storm. And, you know, we didn't have to have, a shelter or anything, did we?
We did.
We did, but I mean, it wasn't really full or.
So, no, ma'am. So we opened up 2 shelters. We had Bronson Elementary was a special needs, and we had 3 visitors there. And then Bronson Middle High School opened up for general population, and we had 10 there. So, but our people answered the call. We found out at about 4:45, Mr. Lott and I was there. Mr. Lott spearheaded, stayed the night at the EOC, and kudos to Miss Beecham, Miss Wiggins, Stephanie Watson, Miss Julia back there, Natalie, Marianne, Jewel Rawls, Mr. Morgan was there, Miss McElroy, Miss Bray, Sheila Long, Kenny Thomas, and Mr. Masters. So how could I forget? So and Mr. Masters. So, and obviously the effort of our maintenance guys to get everything in an hour and a half's notice, we were up and running and ready to open up a shelter. So, you know, you don't take a test, you don't get any FSA scores for that, but our people really answered the bell. So appreciate them on that.
That's very important. And then tell us about the construction over here.
So, Breezy, would you like to share a little bit about the maintenance and warehouse?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. It's been a long time coming, but there's a few reasons for that. And we'll get into that a lot, but one of the big reasons is we're getting a lot of square footage for our homes. You know, we can build things a lot quicker if money wasn't the issue. And not having the other day-to-day stuff, but during contracting is directing Michelle. It was intended to be through with the small building this week, but we had some issues with some of the supplies and then the storm. So they'll be finished hopefully with their part by the end of next week. Then we'll start the process of the inside, you know, interior walls, electrical, all the communications, stuff like that. But the biggest part, the warehouse, we will be able to start using it pretty quick. And we're in bad need of a place to store stuff. So You know, I don't have a set in stone completion date, but this is the biggest part because of the scheduling, with the concrete, you can't get somebody to commit to install a building till you gotta, you know, when the building pad's gonna be finished. We gotta, we can move forward pretty quick now, I think. And I think we're excited about it, you know, to be able to have a place to store stuff. We got a big issue with that since we got rid of other campuses. And what we're dealing with at Chiefland, storage is at a premium right now.
Good, thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Quickens. B.A. Boyle, what you got?
I know that Cedar Key had the week off from their summer program the July 4th week. A lot of vacations took place, and so they didn't meet for school, but they're back up and hard at it this week. That's really just what's going on there. I know a few teachers are ripping the rooms apart and organizing and painting, and some of the students are helping the teachers do that, so that's kind of neat, you know, to walk around and see them do that. And just as a personal comment, it's great to be able to discuss things and moving forward, just so you know. I may not agree, but when the board rules, I will stand behind any decision. I'll stand behind the principals, teachers, students, parents, and the board once a decision is made, and that's what I'm here for, and I strongly feel that way. So I will give you my all with whatever the majority rules, and I won't back down from it.
Good deal.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Ball. Everything's been talked about. We're all working hard. I understand Kim Legler's found us extra money next year, right? Big bucks at the next meeting. So that's something to look forward to talking about. We've already said it one time, but remember, it's next Thursday, 9 a.m. is our meeting, right? Next
Yes,
Thursday, 9 a.m. And I about forgot myself. That's the 22nd. No, Legler, you're a
Yes,
Legler.
it's not.
It is the 26th.
That's a sign that you have known somebody too long when you call them by their maiden name and they don't even speak up. Don't tell Wally. Okay. And I don't have anything other than it was a good one. So at this time, if there's no further business, meeting is adjourned.